Hello everyone. So, bit of a different video than I've done in the past. I've been looking back through some of my vlogs for the Write Every Day, and I've noticed that I haven't been exactly clear on what my projects are, what I've been working on, what I've been kind of fluctuating between when it comes to, I've hinted at two different projects that I've been dealing with, but I haven't really had a chance to ever go over that. So I decided to make a quick video today, both going over what I am going to be working on. In addition to that, it also gives me a chance to lay out my 6-week goals. So a bit of a backstory, I tend to make yearly goals and then break them up into sort of shorter time period ones. I tend to keep my time periods relatively short. I don't do even quarterly ones just because I like to set like 1 or 2 items and then take a short amount of time, usually about like a 6-week period or so, like a month, 6 weeks at like kind of the most, to get these items done. They're definitely stretch goals for the most part. They're not ones that are necessarily very easy to attain at all, but they're ones that I also find are not impossible. And in fact, I was kind of looking back over what I put down for my goals for the next 6 weeks, and I actually think maybe it's actually a little bit too easy. But then again, with the amount of work I've been doing on some of these projects already, it's probably going to be, I'm probably going to come up just probably under the radar with this. So I'm going to go through my goals basically just one by one, and then what I will do is I'll just go a bit more detail on the projects themselves. All right. I only have one goal on here that's not specifically writing related. I do like have my own like plans of other projects and other goals I set for myself to do when it comes to like my personal life, my health, things like that. But I don't tend to like write those ones down. I tend to have those saved on like a computer where I will like make a yearly thing of this needs to be done this year at some point, and then at some point when I'm bored or have a little bit of time, I'll go through and I'll just start checking those off and make days to get these things done. So only one item is not writing related, everything else is. Okay? So first one is the non-writing related one, and it simply is getting this damn office cleaned up. I've been somewhat embarrassed, not quite, but I keep on seeing like how cluttered my office looks on these videos here, and normally it's actually been worse. It's been worse. I've been meaning at some point to finally get rid of all the clutter. My office serves as sort of a storage room as well. It's basically it's my house's spare room. So it's an office slash storage room, and quite frankly, I've got to clean this thing out. So that's my one non-writing related thing, but it tends to tie into the rest of my videos here. So hopefully in the next few weeks, I will have that thing cleaned out. All right. Second goal is getting the second draft of my Write Every Day novel done. So this is my primary project. It's what you've seen me do the entire time for Write Every Day. It's a thing that I've been vlogging about and posting videos. It's getting the second draft of this story done. So as you can see from that stack of papers right there, I'm still going through. I've got about 75 pages left before I'm done my first read through. Simply, my goal is to have the first the first draft, second draft done. So basically have the entire second draft completed here and beyond my third draft. My third goal is having 6 chapters of my other novel, the one the publisher is looking at, completed. So this is where I go a bit more into detail. So I had mentioned in my other video that I had heard back from publisher on one of my prior novels. It was the one I had written before this. It was for my thesis for my MFA. I'd gotten it to the publisher themselves, and they had done like a sort of soft rejection hint of hey, we're not interested necessarily in the story at this time because of the way you wrote it. If you can make the changes and revisions to this, we'd like to take a look at it again. That's basically what they said. Timeline was never specified. I've given myself a good 6 months to get this thing reworked. It's not the story itself they have an issue with. It's mostly just the voice. That was the main issue. It was simply the voice was not necessarily matching the character of the story. The story in context is told from the perspective of a 9-year-old child. And there were things that I had written in the story in the ways I had written it that didn't sound quite young. So what they've asked for is to have that cleaned up. So to basically have the voice cleaned up. So that is my goal here for in the short term, is to have 6 chapters of that redone. And then what I'll do is I'll spend probably the rest of the months going through and getting this thing fixed up. So that's my short-term goal, just getting 6 chapters revised to make the voice sound clear. Shouldn't be necessarily that hard. In fact, this is probably the one goal that I've written that I'm like, that's kind of easy. Like 6 chapters just to revise the voice. It's not that difficult if all the structural stuff is going to stay in place. But on top of the second draft of the other novel that I'm working on, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. And so the very last thing, the very last goal that I have written down here is going to be completing a short story that I had been working on. My goal is simply get it completed and then research outlets, either magazines or contests, to submit it to. Again, not completely difficult, not something that I don't think will take up a whole lot of time. The novel is pretty well done. Like at this point, I think it needs a little bit more of a polish, but otherwise, I think that this short story here is pretty solid. So I shouldn't take too much time up. I think that there'll be, spend a little bit of time just tinkering away and fixing words here and there, fixing a little bit of sentence work here and there, but pretty well polished. So a lot of that will just be redoing the just the structure, a little bit of the retooling some of the structure, but mostly just to polish, and then looking at outlets to send it to. That is it. So those are my 4 goals. Now, I mentioned I set very short time frames on these things, so I've set 6 weeks as my goal. So 6 weeks from today, May 1st, that's what I need to have these things done. So by May 1st, I need to have the second draft of this complete, need to have 6 chapters of the other story from the publisher done, and have my office cleaned up and, I guess, remodeled, and then just have the short story completed and have potential outlets to send it to researched. So, again, not a whole lot. Again, looking back on it, I'm thinking it might be a little bit too easy, but we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely not. If I was working full time right now, I'd probably say it'd probably be a big challenge. With kind of the time I have at the moment here, I've been very fortunate. I might get more of this done. And the other question, someone had asked me, sent me a quick message. We're buddies. They had actually asked me why I was doing things in the order I was doing, in a sense, between the novels. So what they had said was, why am I not doing the novel for the publisher instead? Like, why am I not spending more time on that one and less time on this draft? Main reason is simply that I have sort of a window of about like a mental window, I guess, of about like a 6-month period to do this. So with no timeline being given, I tend to take the most amount of time I can to do that. And so in my mind, it's like I'd like to get that done within the 6 months, and I feel like I can do that if I take my time. This novel right here is more of my own personal timeline. And in truth, the reason why I'm doing it is because I'm hoping in maybe 6 months, this novel will be done too. I like the idea of getting both novels done around the same time. The idea just being that, should I be rejected? Should the novel that I had a thing with publisher going right now, should they say, yep, good work revising it, but by the time we're not interested, something came up, our catalog's full, whatever the reason might be, it'll be good to say to myself, okay, well, I have this other thing right now that I'm about to start querying to agents at the moment. That's why. That's the main reason. It's as much psychological for myself as it is just me giving myself the maximum time of 6 months and me taking my time to do it within that time frame. That's really what the reason is. Um, you can argue if it makes sense, if it doesn't make sense, if I should be approaching this way or not. Just for me, that's kind of how I geared this up. I'd like to by like around like next November-ish, or by I guess this November, to have both stories basically done and resent over. If I get done earlier, great. I keep myself open to the idea of doing more. If I get to like 6 pages of the novel the publisher's interested in, then hey, I'll start going over more and more and more if I have the time. It's not something where I hit 6 and I stop completely. But this is just what I'm aiming for, to be on track. Yeah, so that's it. So that is my goals laid out. I hope that clears up maybe a little bit of what I've been working on, what my projects are. I haven't necessarily gone into detail about what the stories are. I think what I'll do is I'll probably pick. I'll probably pick a vlog at some point in the coming weeks, potentially, or yeah, at some point I'll pick a vlog and I'll just go through each story and just lay out exactly what I'm working on. I kind of want to keep this one a little bit of a secret at the moment. It's not that like it's not any kind of fear of like idea stealing or anything like that. That doesn't really exist as a writer, but it's more of I like to keep things to my. I like to keep things pretty close to the vest until it's ready for people to take a look at. Even though no one here's ever going to see it basically until I'm ready, and me describing what the book's about is not going to change anything, I've still left room to sort of change some of the fundamentals of the book. So if I say, hey, the book's about this, I might end up doing a complete overhaul at some point, and the book is a completely different thing. And it would be weird to be like describing that, then all of a sudden describe it's about something else. Having gotten through most of this, I don't think that's going to happen. But that's kind of why. So at some point I'll do a bit more in-depth video on each individual project. But for now, those are my goals. So 4 things to do in the next 6 weeks. And I've never really had as much time in my life to write as I have now. So let's hope I can get this done.